Hey guys, this is my review. This is my review of First Man. But before we get started, I just want to say something. I apologize if the intake of videos is a while. I know there's a lot of stuff I have to do. I want to get back to doing pictures from pixels to pictures, but I will say I have not been feeling well at all lately. From both physical standpoint, but also from a mental standpoint, things are just really, really rough for me right now, and I know it's hard to really convey that, but just wanted you to know I'm struggling through a lot of things right now. So uh, if it takes a little while for certain videos to come out, that's the reason. With that being said, so First Man, I think that Damien Chazelle is quickly becoming one of my favorite directors because he has this innate ability to tell very human stories in very different genres. Because Whiplash, that film is a very, very good film. It's more of a drama, psychological thriller, even though it's about a drummer in a jazz band. And he somehow managed to make that the most intense mind blowing thing ever. And then La La Land is one of my favorite movies of the last couple of years. It was just brilliant. It was perfect. It was and it's a musical and it's a bright, happy film that also can get pretty emotional. And it was one of the biggest slam dunk Best Picture winners ever. And I'm still kind of amazed that it didn't win Best Picture. I'll still I'll think that it won Best Picture. Whenever I mention La La Land in passing, I'll just be like, "Oh yeah, that won Best Picture." I keep forgetting that it didn't, because it was just the most shocking. To say nothing of the way that it was announced, it was just the most shocking upset win ever when that happened. And then we have this movie, which is a space movie, and some people might compare it to Gravity or Apollo 13, more likely. But it's interesting because it's really not about uh, the space exploration. It kind of is, but what this movie is essentially it's about the human experience. It's about who Neil Armstrong is, because we all know the name Neil Armstrong, and we all know that he landed on the moon, and we know the quote "One small step for man." We know all that, but who Neil Armstrong actually was as a person is a little bit harder to pin down, and that's I knew virtually nothing. My dad knew a lot going in. I saw this with him, uh, and even if you don't know too much, I don't think it's like, well, should I do research before I see the film? No, I think the movie is all about shedding light on who Neil Armstrong was as a person and what it would have felt like to be in his shoes all throughout his life, particularly up to the moon landing. And it's worth pointing out that there were many, many people on Earth and Houston that helped this moon landing succeed, and it wasn't all his achievement. The movie makes that very clear. But when people say the first man on the moon, and what you really feel when they finally get to the moon landing scene is that this is a human. This is a human being with loves and hopes and dreams and all that human stuff going to a place where no human has ever stepped foot before. And that's ultimately what this movie is about. It's about seeing the man behind the legend. And Ryan Gosling gives an amazing performance. It is a very down to earth, lived in performance. We see every aspect of this man and every aspect of his life. And most of the film is on Earth. So there's not a ton of space exploration. Most of it is very personal drama, which is why I question how it's going to do in the best visual effects race. We'll have to see. But very powerful performance by Ryan Gosling. And also Claire Foy is very, very good. I don't know if this is going to win her an Oscar, but it's undeniably going to get her a nomination. And I know that we've seen the supporting wife role done a million times in other biopics. It's practically become a cliche at this point. But she does the supporting wife thing really well. She does the American accent really well, and when it comes time with her big scene, which we know is coming, she's does a very great subtle work throughout the whole movie. And then when we get to her big scene, it's really an incredible moment. And we never get the sense that Mrs. Armstrong, that she is upset with her position as a housewife or that she resents the success of her husband. She is content very much with her life. She's just not content with her husband's job and the risk factor involved. And it feels like a very realistic portrayal of a marriage. And we also see that Neil Armstrong is a father and she is a mother, and they have kids in the equation. Kids who know something about what their father does, but they don't know the full concept, and they're trying to wrap their heads around it. And over the course of the movie, we see more and more astronauts. We see just how dangerous this job is. We see many astronauts die, and we see Neil Armstrong almost die in a number of occasions. We see just how close this man came to not making it to the moon, how close he came to not making it back. Like, it's an unbelievable story and an unbelievable movie. And it's interesting that we've never really gotten a Neil Armstrong biopic. He's like an amazing hero. He's an American hero, but we've never really gotten a biopic of him properly. We've never gotten to see this story told in film. And I believe that Clint Eastwood was originally attached to the project, and then they got Damien Chazelle after the success of La La Land. They said, okay, we want a big Oscar bait movie. And that's what he delivers. But I think a lot of directors could have told the story of the moon landing. But what Damien Chazelle does is he makes it solely about the human experience. What he does is he puts you squarely in the moment of this is how it would have felt. In Gravity, I don't think you can argue about which movie is better, this or Gravity, but Gravity is all about making you feel like you're in space and making you feel like you're in this unbelievable experience. And what this movie does is it keeps you rooted in the moment even when you're on Earth. And it keeps you very much in Neil Armstrong's shoes throughout every step of the way, which is impressive considering the editing of this movie. It's very interesting. What this movie does is a lot of the times it just shows you the small moments. Like sometimes it won't even show you big events, or it'll completely cut around big events. It'll just show you the smaller moments in between and then make you have to figure out the big events that happened. And it feels very lifelike. A lot of it is done primarily in close-ups. So we see every pore on Ryan Gosling and Claire Foy's face. And there are many, many, many close-ups in this movie, and I can see how a lot of people are going to be put off by that. And I feel that in the hands of a lesser director, this movie could have come across as being pretentious. And for some people might still see that. But I think that Damien Chazelle did something really incredible with this film. He proved himself as a director, and he took a script that already was very Oscar baity, and he elevated it to be about something much more personal. And he's like, we're not going to do an Oscar movie for the sake of doing an Oscar movie. There are plenty of other directors who can deliver in that regard, but I want to make this movie something special. If we're going to tell this story, and to be fair, it's a story that probably should be told, then we're going to make sure people look at it from a new way. Neil Armstrong was the first man, the first human, to ever step foot on the moon, and we need to emphasize the humanity. That's what we're going for in this film. So that is my review, and thank you so much for watching. And sorry about that. And I will be back with another review at some time in the future, maybe. See you later. Bye.